You see, there's a power in this faith to generate change in people's hearts. So let's look at some examples. And this is best done by looking to the extremes of human behavior, telling some stories. So let's look at overcoming addictions, crime, and our inner emotional and mental challenges. While it's not often published, faith-based drug rehabilitation programs are consistently among the most effective. Countless testimonials exist to tell this story, and there's a pattern to the stories. A miracle somehow takes place in a person's heart as they turn to God with faith, and then they find freedom. For example, at a time when 60 to 75% of those going through secular rehabilitation programs would go back to drugs afterward, a church-run program in the same study had just 20% go back, while a prison fellowship transitioner of prisoners program saw only 9% go back to drugs. The difference in reoccurring pattern was so significant that the secular researchers involved called it the Jesus factor, because they couldn't think of any other way to describe it. Jared lives here in Tauranga, New Zealand, where I live. He was using drugs by age 12. After a first stint in prison, he became involved with a program to help him break free of those drugs. After a second stint in prison, back at the program, a counsellor who visited the program, who was also a person of faith, suggested he try praying to God to see if God could help him. Long story short, Jared's been free of drugs since that very day, and actually now works for that same program, helping other young men who are facing the same challenges that he did. Corinza and Mark are friends of ours from the local church we go to. From stuff that happened early in life, Corinza ended up struggling to find a reason to keep living and on drugs. Reaching a breaking point, she says she literally cried out to God, "If you're there and if you care, help me, tell me what to do." Within minutes, her dad called her, who she says was the most inspiring Christian in her life. That was for her the beginning point of the change. And today, everything is different, including no drugs, emotional freedom, and people who hurt her genuinely forgiven from the heart because of God's help. And these stories represent a pattern. And if you go to visit churches around the globe where there's faith in the heart, practically every person has stories like this, because there's a reality behind all of this talk. Prisoner rehabilitation is the same. The Jesus factor makes a huge difference. One study revealed that mere regular attendance at a prison fellowship Bible study cut reoffending by 2/3. Peter lives in Lower Hutt, Wellington. Having been involved with the gangs, in prison one day he reached a breaking point. He tells how he challenged God, "If you're real, prove yourself to me." In that moment he experienced a supernatural touch from God, covering him with his love, and he heard a voice in his heart that clearly said, "I love you." And it reduced the big man to tears. Long story short, his life was completely changed from that very moment, and he spent the next 20 years as a drug and alcohol counsellor helping others. The same story is true in recovery from all manner of mental illnesses and emotional challenges, and we all face some challenges in life, right? As we're humbled by our experiences, we turn to God and He helps. And the benefits of the Christian faith and the data are enormous.